BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
The following podcast contains some strong language and adult themes. The sort
Mad, innit?
The sort of thing that we call fun stuff. If you don't like bad words, this pod probably isn't for you. So yeah, off, Carl. That'll get bleeped out, won't it?
Yeah, that's the first and last time we're going to bleep anything. I warn you.
Back stronger. What the hell was that?
Oh God, it's like bargain hunt.
Has Wayne Rooney got big shins?
But I genuinely have had a problem with Alsatians ever since.
What is Carl?
I've always wondered that.
Oh my God, I can't believe it.
When you say dirty undies everywhere,
Banging music.
some kind of sex burglar.
It was so loud.
I've enjoyed that one massively.
That's about it. Welcome to another episode of That Peter Crouch podcast. I'm Peter Crouch, Chris Stark.
Hello.
And Tom Fordyce with me.
Ni hao.
Ni hao ma.
Oh, is this Mandarin, is it?
What do you think?
No, I'm much more complex with my Mandarin. You know, like we chatted about much more complex things. It wasn't just hello.
Ni feng chang piao liang.
What does that mean?
No, well, it's been a long time.
Well, I tried to find the Mandarin for why are you so tall, but
Right.
it doesn't seem to exist in Mandarin.
Does it not?
So I've just asked you, why are you so beautiful?
It's not something Turu ever said to me, I'll be honest.
Young Turo, we're still trying to find him, I think, aren't we?
Oh,
your long lost buddy from the last podcast, of course, from when you were in Singapore.
Yeah. Well, it was 30 odd years ago, so...
He must be so proud, and that's why, or bitter, not sure. But that's why it'd be great to get him along to Crouch Fest, Crouchella, whatever we're calling it.
Oh, I'd love to have honestly, genuinely, I would actually love to see him.
Tom, I've been told to ask you about some sort of concerns, or so what's going on?
I've had a difficult week, Chris. I can share this with you guys. I've mentioned it to Crouch already, which is why he's laughing his head off.
I know about this.
What I'm going to say, Chris, it's a difficult one to phrase. I've had some pain in a personal area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are we doing this on the podcast?
You're going to understand in a second. Fine. So I'm going in to see the doctor. I'm already thinking, how do I phrase the thing that's happened to me? I walk in and the doctor breaks into a massive grin and says, can I just say before you start, I absolutely love the podcast.
No way, seriously?
And I'm going to say to him, right, just park that thought.
What's he found up there? Whitebait?
I thought there was patient confidentiality, but he's...
Is it chafing from all the cycling you've been doing?
So every episode of the pod covers a different topic, loads of different ones in our box set. I mean, we've done a few now, boys. Can you remember most of them?
We start with a topic and we move on to something completely different, and that's what I enjoy about it. We'll have a topic and it will just take on something completely different.
Yeah, I think you're right. At the very least, if you listen to this, at the very least, you're getting a half decent pub chat. At the very best,
It's a tagline. It's a half decent pub chat.
We've got challenges and bets and all sorts of stuff that can escalate quite dramatically.
Very well.
Today's show, boys, it's all about fitness. I'm hoping by the end of this episode that we're going to know enough about this topic that we can all set up as personal trainers, because I think we all hold them in very high regard.
Nah. But I would also like to say, I think if you're unfit and listening to this, don't turn off now thinking that you're going to feel inadequate. I'll be very much representing you.
What was your issue with personal trainers, Chris?
I just don't think you can trust them, really, can you?
I think he's definitely had a girlfriend.
Who's been stolen away?
100%.
What was her name?
No, what I'm saying is
How
just...
hunky was he?
They're always there, good looking, very professional, I'm sure.
Did he look amazing in shorts?
What I'm saying is you've just got to have one eye on the... And if you are a personal trainer listening, you know what I'm talking about. If you're being properly honest with yourself. Another time, boys.
Right, before we get into some of the messages, Chris, that we've been sent by our listeners, how are we getting on with Crouchella? Where are we?
Yes, you're going to love this one. In a wonderful set of circumstances, I had a meeting with some lawyers at the BBC, and we're going to have to change the name.
What?
Because they're pretty scared about Coachella's lawyers aggressively pursuing us. Yeah.
What?
I've got a quote from the email here. This is from the lawyers. The worst case scenario would be if they found out about it in advance and sought to stop it taking place under that name, which would not be good PR for us.
That's nonsense.
Well, look,
They must be
I think.
quaking in their boots about our festival.
That's what I think.
Becoming bigger than theirs.
That's what I think. Listen, lawyers are involved, so what we're going to have to do for the purposes of what we refer to. We're going to have to call it Crouch Fest. If you want to call it Crouchella, whatever, do it. Just don't CC them in on Twitter. Don't at them.
What's the matter with these people?
But then I also said, lawyers, do you want a challenge? Let's lawyer up. Let's go after them. Like,
Let's go toe to toe.
let's have them.
All right, let's go all the way.
We've got 3-4 weeks to make this thing. Let's bring it. Let's go on. You know,
Lawyers are quite expensive, aren't they?
They are a bit.
How much will this cost us? Because I'm aware that we've also got to put on the festival.
you talked about costs on the last podcast. I don't think we deal with costs until we have to. We'll just crack on for now and we'll see where we go. I'll tell you what, it's fascinating learning about how to put on a festival, though. The good news is, all going well, we are going to have a Crouchella, and we're going to do the best we can to at least scramble something together.
A message from Jason. Jason says, this refers to our halftime episode when we were talking about oranges at halftime, why the orange rather than the kumquat was the fruit.
Kumquat?
How are you pronouncing it?
Kumquat.
What?
The first time I heard about it was when Chris mentioned it.
You ever had a kumquat?
I don't know what it is.
What do you think a kumquat looks like?
I'd envision like a sort of reasonably big thing.
So you're doing like sort of 6 inches with your fingers there.
Yeah, 6 inches, and I imagine it to have like a big sort of stone. Yeah.
Give him a look at a kumquat. Then. We'll see what's going on.
That's a kumquat. It's like an elongated orange. It's like an
Yeah. So
oval
if I was an
orange.
orange, I would be a kumquat.
You're the kumquat of oranges.
That was profound.
I feel like we've slipped away from Jason's message a little bit here.
Yeah.
Jason's message was, oranges are good at half-time because they contain simple sugars, such as fructose and glucose. So they are, in theory, readily available to the body. They don't need to be broken down, so it's quick energy.
Yeah, because last time you boys dismissed the orange because of its nutritional value and was just like, there's no need for it. There'd be better things to have.
Yeah.
Whereas actually Jason is saying, no, it's a good thing to have.
Yeah, but I think there's probably easier ways to get fructose and glucose and
Like just a little
hydration
cheeky drink.
than an orange, really, than getting one of the mums to cut it up for hours before.
Moving on.
Hal has got in touch with us. Hal says, I want to share a game that a friend and I sometimes play in the hope that you might play it on the pod. It's called Would You Rather. So Hal has sent us a couple of examples. You up for this, boys?
Here we go.
Okay. Chris, shall we read these to Crouchy?
Okay.
Crouchy, who would you rather give a foot rub to? Shaqiri after a sweaty match or Sean Dyche after he's been pacing the touchline?
A foot rub? Well, I just
These are so weird.
I'm going to go with Shaqiri just because there's not much foot there.
It's just, you get it over and done with more quickly.
Yeah, it's not a huge foot. I'll go with that. Yeah.
Whose hand would you rather hold when crossing the road? Jack Butland or Tom Heaton?
Ooh, it's a toughie. I'm going to go with Tom Heaton's hand.
Why?
No idea.
Would you like him to be wearing his gloves just so you've got extra grip?
I just think
He's not going to let go
possibly more experienced, isn't
at
he?
crossing the road.
They're both quite sensible captain material, so I would be comfortable crossing with either.
Yeah.
Who would you rather have look after you in a restaurant? Jamie Vardy or Leroy Sané?
Sane,
surely.
surely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stop his front there.
What kind of restaurant would it be, though?
Be a fast food restaurant.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's Grouchy.
Crouch going for the spectacular. Oh, what a goal from Peter Crouch!
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
Right, you might not remember this, Chris. There was a point before the League Cup final where ITV had a competition to see which footballer was the fastest.
Yeah,
and they
so,
got
yeah.
a representative from each club in their full kit and football boots and did a 100-metre race along the side of the pitch at Wembley.
I would love to see this now.
What? Why?
Well, it's just so good, isn't it? Well, imagine you had Kyle Walker, Leroy Sané, Theo Walcott, Bale, Ronaldo, all lined up. I mean, it'd take a few quid, I reckon, but...
but what we've done there is completely switched sports. So where the club's invested in it.
It was won by a Coventry striker called John Williams.
John Williams
Can you remember
blitzed it, didn't he?
Yeah. And he used to be a postman in Swansea. You know, sometimes you store these weird facts.
I would just love to see that now. You know,
Who'd win it?
Kyle Walker, it's Leroy Sané, Sterling, like a few at City, isn't there? Salah.
But they can only send one. That's the thing. That's the beauty of this, right?
What I think is maybe you should possibly give them the club a Champions League place. Then they'd fucking run, wouldn't they?
I think the fans would want that, wouldn't they?
Well,
I
I just think
would.
I think there's something in it. I think there is I would love to see who's the fastest player in the Premier League? Have a race.
It should be that the clubs really care about it. If something was
If
on...
you put something on it, namely a Champions League place, I think that, we're aiming high, but why not? It would be amazing to see, wouldn't it?
Who would go from Burnley?
Aaron Lennon.
Yeah.
Watford?
Delafeu, maybe is.
There's a few Watford, isn't there? There's some pace.
But wouldn't it be great if the owners have to then worry about just getting someone fast just for this space? And like money's going on players like for the space. This is what I love about this podcast so much. It's just pub chat, isn't it?
We need a name for this. Like, we've struggled with Crouch at a Crouch Fest. What can we come up with this? Race for the stars?
Pace for a place.
Race for the place.
Race for a place,
Race for a
London.
place, yeah.
Nice, that's it.
For the play in the Champions League.
Yeah, for the place in Champions League.
All right.
There is actually stats out there now because of the GPS data.
This is something that another thing that I thought everyone knew. We started wearing these like GPS vests in training and stuff.
I think these ones look like bras.
When he says
Little
vest,
bra
he
top.
means bra.
Yeah, it's a little bra top.
It's like a crop top.
But yeah, I mean, you cannot get away with anything. And at the end of a session, like nowadays, we'll have a live feed. So there'll be someone with a laptop literally on the side of the pitch. And we'll come over at sort of after the warm-up and you can check it. And by the end of the training session, say you need to cover a certain amount of distance, you need to get a certain amount of high-intensity runs in your training. If you haven't reached them, then they might ask you at the end of training to do like a few strides.
There's a lovely story from Benny McCarthy when he was at Blackburn, and Sam Allardyce is his manager. And obviously Sam Allardyce, seen by some people as a dinosaur, but was quite ahead of the curve, wasn't he, Crouchy, on a lot of these things. In match situations, he used to sprint to take corners because then his stats would show up with lots of high-intensity sprints.
Yeah.
Like they were totally pointless sprints, but when the data fed through, they'd be like, Benny's been working hard.
Yeah, I remember there was one story where it was a goalkeeper and it was at the end of the season and this particular team had gone up. It was a story that went round, and obviously instead of a heat map, it's like you can see exactly where he's run, and he just spelled out C-U-N-T in his penalty box while the game was down the upper end.
Then that raises an interesting question, doesn't it? That are you ever feeling a pressure to play a game that looks good on the stats for your manager and your team rather than actually playing the game of football?
This is exactly right. And I think sometimes we do get slightly carried away with that kind of data, the physical data. And I think players sometimes get caught up in how much they've run rather than how much they've given the ball away. I mean, I watched Barcelona recently. I watched Messi carefully, how he warmed up, and his warm-up was non-existent. His heart rate wouldn't have been up once. I watched him do a few keepy-ups, do a few passes, take a couple of shots and then walk in and be the best player on the pitch.
I've got some supplementary questions, Crouchy, about the sports bras.
Yes.
When did it first become not funny to put them on?
That's a very valid question. At first, it was ridiculous. But they came about, they were quite big at first. It was like a full top. The bra situation's only come in sort of...
The bra situation.
Last 5-6 years, yeah.
When you were first explained how to put on the bra, was it like Pulis in front of you there, like going, right boys, I've been practicing this at home?
It's more of a sports bra. It looks like a bra, but it just goes over the head like normal. There's no contraption at the back.
So who puts on your bra?
No, I can put on my own sports top.
Do you have your own numbered bra?
In all honesty, I don't know. I don't take a great deal of notice. I just put in a pigeonhole with my GPS in it already and turned on. So I'm turned on with a bra.
In terms of technology then, is that the biggest change that you've seen to sort of help improve fitness, or are there other gadgets and stuff like that you use
so
in
much.
training? Or
Things change all the time. Like pre-season was governed by the manager. Now, there's 3 people's jobs are, how to structure a pre-season scientifically. So if you look at the time that most players retired, it was, 31, 32. And I think now I can still be playing at Premier League at 38. So I think it was down to the scale back of training. I think I wouldn't want to do it if I was doing what I was doing when I was 18, 19, 20. I mean, when I was at Tottenham, we'd just go to Epping Forest and just run round it till we were sick.
Which is pointless. Because when in a football match, you ever just run at a steady pace
That was it.
for an hour and a half, you don't do it.
First day. And it was like every day would be the same. And then we'd come back and do some football in the afternoon. Like now, we'll get tested for absolutely everything, like body fats, and then we'll go into the training, and it's a lot lighter now than it sort of was.
Is pre-season really about fitness, or is it just about getting you guys together?
So I think you come back off the summer and you go into sort of a regimented routine where you go somewhere, it's usually like Switzerland or somewhere where the air's clean. The structure would be 7 o'clock ups or whatever, 7:30 you're running, you're doing something hard, you're on your bike to the next bit, then you'll have a bit of breakfast, then you'll go for the next training session, then you have a bit of lunch, the next training session in the evening sort of might be a gym-based session, and you have a week of that. It's intense training, and it's like, I feel great.
But fitness has obviously changed so massively in the sport, and therefore the sport's changed because of it. I think that's suddenly why we've got fit goalkeepers and stuff.
What a
properly
strange that
fit
idea is.
goalkeepers.
Because goalkeepers, I always imagine, when you're talking about the old school cross-country runs around Epping Forest, I always imagine that the goalkeepers are just trudging along at the back. Not only that, but they get away with it because everyone's
asthma.
don't worry about it, mate. You're not running anywhere in a game.
Yeah, that is true. But then it used to be the fact that the keepers used to do it with us, and if you got beat by a goalkeeper, that would be the end. I mean, you'd have to stay behind for extra running.
Yeah.
Never get beat by a goalkeeper.
So now, does each position have their own training schedule? So a wing back has a totally different demand to a centre back, who has a totally different fitness demand to, say, a centre forward. They all have their own training programs.
Yeah, everything will be gauged to the individual. So even in the summer, we get like a folder on holiday. You get a full program of like week 1, nothing, possibly week 2, sort of light kind of swimming, tennis, something leisurely.
That's quite nice then.
Yeah, and then by week 3 will be then you step up the training. So then it'll be go for a few sort of interval runs, some weights, some core work, and then it will lead into so you're ready for the season. When you come in, everyone's fighting fit, and if you're not, you're behind.
So are you almost trusting that other people know your body better than you?
Basically, I know what I need to do to get back day 1 pre-season in good shape. So I don't need a folder, to be quite honest. But
You can keep your folder.
you can shove your folder up your arse. But for me, I think I need to get away from the game. I need to switch off. But I'm a naturally active person anyway, so I like swimming, I like playing tennis, I play golf.
Got a quality slide as well.
Amazing slide.
Well, it's not the slide that I want. There's a better slide out there, which
I know, mate.
infuriates me every day. Once I make it, I'm going to get that. I will get that slide. I'm telling you.
A few more books.
The irony is that you actually do more fitness when you're doing your fitness work for football than you currently do playing football.
Yes. On a Saturday, I don't exert myself too much at the minute. But that's when you see after a game. I mean, this is quite demoralising for me. But as a sub, you run after a game because
Empty stadium.
Well, yeah, because we've all got a day off on the Sunday. The only way you can sort of justify the day off is if you do some work. So they try and make you run. And I'll be honest with you, it's a dark, dark place when you look at the fitness coach and he says, "Yeah." You go, "Are we?" And they say, "Yep." And everyone's getting changed. You've had a big win or something, and they're all celebrating a win, getting in the shower and messing around and putting some music on, and you've got to trudge out with the other subs and go and run on an empty pitch with a few stewards, and it's a dark place. And also, I've seen it kick off when people don't want to do it because
Is it necessary?
Well, I think there's a bit of give and take with it. I've been at big clubs where we haven't done it, and then I've been at smaller clubs where we have. The fitness coach and the manager, they do have to realise that it can be quite hard to do that. There was a little point last season. I was on the bench away at Rotherham, and it was pissing down rain. We just drew the game, and the fitness coach said, "Right, we're out running." I was running, it was freezing cold, it was pissing down. I was 38 years old, and I'm running on a pitch with no one on it. Going, what am I doing with my life here? And that was like a bit of a wake-up call.
Did you kick off, or did you just do it?
Kick off? I didn't kick off at all. No, I was just dealing with these mental images, and then I was replaying all like goals and things that I was thinking.
World Cups.
The worst thing is, I think it might have been a Tuesday night.
I've got a question for you, Crouchy. You say that everyone has their own training schedule, but if you had to say now which is the fittest position on a football pitch, which one is it?
Modern day fullback all day.
Yeah, wing backs.
I look at Trent Alexander-Arnold and Robertson. It's amazing to watch, and I mean they genuinely must have the fitness to get up and down, to defend and then attack in the manner they do. But actually, centre halves and actually strikers cover the least distance.
What about the goalkeeper then, being the fittest position on the pitch now? Are you worried? Because as you said, when you're running around the woods now, the goalkeepers are taking.
Oh yeah, you always got to be aware of the goalkeeper.
If you go down to the woods,
you're in for a big surprise.
The nutcases in the gym keepers. We'll do a session and we don't really want to be in the gym. You see them just throwing weights around. And
Ben Foster loves cycling. Don't want to get you excited there, Tom.
Tell me more.
Look at
But his
Tom's face.
little eyes lit up there.
Like a red rag to a bull.
But I see him
What sort of
constantly.
cycling, Chris?
Well, do you know what I saw is this machine that they're on, and they all compete. So then Deeney tries to have a little go at Foster's record on there. Even though you're talking about individual roles, is there much competitiveness in getting fit at a football club?
Yeah. The pre-season runs, like I always think day one as well is so competitive. Like everyone's on the start line going, I'm going to show like how much I've done over the summer and like, how good a shape I'm in. Tony Pulis took us pre-season. That was one of his favourite things. He loved cycling, so he used to take us up hills on bikes, and I wasn't great at that. My quads are not cycling quads, and I found that very difficult.
Who was the quickest? Huth?
Oh, Dean Whitehead.
Really?
Was unbelievable. Pinging it up.
Was he?
But he's got like big legs, big calves. And Robert Huth the same. He was very good. But then we would do like 3 or 4 sort of loops of this up the hill and then back down, up the hill, back down. And I was sort of halfway through and I saw Kenwyn Jones carrying his bike. Carrying his bike up the hill. Then just after that, Pennant was doing the same.
Pennant probably left us at a railway station. Didn't he?
They literally gave up. I was so close. I was barely going faster than them while they were walking, like carrying the bike. And I thought myself, do you know what? It's one of those where I'm just like, I'm not going to let it beat me. So yeah, it's competitive, real competitive. Anything with a bit, and the managers and the coaches sort of play on that because they want that competitiveness.
So what's your favourite?
Distance. I feel like striding out. So like,
Striding
you know what I mean? So like we used to do this one like a horseshoe or like a box to box run. We don't do that so much anymore, but something like that I would always be very good at. And then like a horseshoe, so you'd start the halfway line, you'd run sort of behind the goal all the way round off the pitch to the other halfway line, and then you'll have a rest, then you'll go back. So it's literally like you're just doing constant horseshoes. And they're all a bit old school, but that was my forte.
I like the old school drills though as well. Surely you become a manager, you're doing the old school drills.
Yeah,
I
I'll probably-
guarantee
What
it.
shoes this morning, boys?
Oh yeah, exactly.
Bras off, boys. We're going old school.
Fuck the bras off. We're going old school.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
So we've been going in on the podcast about different personalities around a football club. Where does the fitness coach fit into this? What personality are we dealing with here? So are we imagining an old school PE coach?
Yeah, like a PE teacher stroke army sergeant major.
Exactly, yeah. Like
Like a whistle around his neck.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it used to be, they used to be horrible. Everyone hated them. Now it's like they're good lads. They come from uni and they're obviously very bright. They've done a hell of a lot of research and qualifications to get where they are, and that's basically running of Premier League clubs training.
Wow.
They're high-powered jobs. Would I trust them? No, because because they report to the manager
Snitch.
entirely. Not a snitch, but.
Little gremlins from the main sort
If
of.
I
you
say,
sends
if I
them out a
say to
little.
the fitness coach that I'm a bit tired, or imagine I said I was hungover or something like that, yeah, it's going back to the manager because he's in charge of fitness, so he has to report to the manager everything that goes on.
But they're Willy Wonkas and Palumpas. That's basically what they are.
Well,
aren't they?
Basically, they are.
A lot of the staff are, aren't they? I think.
On that sliding scale of chat with players, if we have at one end of the scale the manager, no jokes to the players, and you go through assistant manager, slightly more chat with players, the kit man, plenty of chat, and then physio, my room is where all the chat happens.
Yeah.
On that sliding scale, where is our fitness coach?
Just under the assistant manager.
I'm guessing there are different sorts of WhatsApp groups at a football club, like there are at any workplace or any friendship group. Of those WhatsApp groups, which one is the fitness coach allowed into?
Well, at the end of the day, he's staff, so we'll have a players-only group, and then we'll have a staff and players group.
Which is the fun one?
Well, obviously the players group.
Rate
where
yourself much,
A
Steve.
hell of a lot gets said. And then there's a sort of first team group with all staff that is very inactive.
So does it ever get dangerous when you're trying to on WhatsApp for a football club? Are you part of several different WhatsApp groups?
In a football club there is quite a few groups.
And you've got to be so careful what you do.
There's a formal one,
Yeah.
which is
bring this, wear this, travelling here. Then there's the other one.
the social group.
Yes, yeah, which is a bit more social, yeah.
Chris, good news. You know, we were talking about this sprint challenge where each club had to put forward a player to see who was the fastest over 100 metres. Right, here we go. I found it on YouTube. I just searched for Sprint Challenge League Cup.
So they made this
Here we go.
logistically
Look.
happen. Oh my god!
So Wembley, look.
So there is a
got full
track.
lanes.
They've made a 100 metres track on the left-hand side of the old Wembley pitch.
That is the lineup.
Here's the lineup.
Superb.
The former postman.
Former postman for Swansea.
You know what I love about it? Is they're all in kit on a pitch and they're taking it so seriously. It's like look
at the nerves.
Look at them.
Well,
That's Kevin Bartlett from Notts County. He looks like he's in an Olympic final.
So the rule seems to be that they have to do it in full kit.
It's
Yeah.
full
But-
kit, boots and grass. That's the stipulations.
So when we do this again, when we do the race for the place, we want these rules,
Oh, it's
yeah?
full kit. Of course it is.
Yeah?
Full kit wanker.
Yeah, okay.
Do you know, I'm thinking when we could do this the Community Shield.
Yeah,
we could
you're right.
start the season.
You're right. Actually,
Community
people would go
Shield.
to it then.
I'm nervous.
And they're away.
Is that a starting gun?
Williams gets a really bad start, but he powers through.
Look how relaxed his sprinting style is. He's like Usain Bolt. Just
This
comes
is bizarre.
70 metres on.
Look at him there. That's Bolt. That's Bolt.
It is like
Bolt-esque.
watching Bolt.
John Williams, Bolt-esque.
What's he won for that then? Why is he buzzing so much?
He's
It's
won
pride.
£10,000.
It's like one of those, like, if so-and-so did sports days, this is what it would look like. It's incredible.
You know, there's there's dad's races at
Yeah.
Sports Day. Have you done that, Crouchy?
So I have done that. Yeah, there is. I've got footage of it. I finished second recently.
Well, a professional footballer.
You finished
At-
second. If I were you, I'd be...
Who beat you?
Yeah, I'll be gutted at
I
that,
didn't
mate.
realise after that it was his dad. Right, he had chinos on, and
Oh, that's even worse.
yeah, exactly. So I thought I'd get in his race. He's got chinos on. I got in his race, made sure I was in it, and he blitzed me. Then afterwards, they said, "Oh, you're up against Fast Dad." So his nickname round the
Fast
school
Dad?
was Fast Dad.
You call him... Someone's told you that to make you feel better,
No, but
I
I'm not
reckon.
like- no.
They've gone, don't worry, Mr. Crouch, it's fine. It's fine you came second. You were up against Fast Dad. it sounds like the kind of thing you'd tell a child.
Someone told me he was a winger for he's a professional rugby player.
This is more nonsense. Do you know what everyone
It's not more nonsense.
No one knows him as Fast Dad. He's known as Dave.
Well, hold on a minute, right? I've got it. I've got it. So if you, the thing is with Fast Dad, when you see him, you'll go,
Fast Dad.
He's fast.
he's a Fast Dad.
Yeah, but who told you he was called Fast Dad? Was that another teacher?
Well, afterwards, the women said, "Oh, you did really well in the race. Like, well done."
Patronising.
You know, one of
Yeah.
those. Yeah, and I was like, "Well, I lost, and I'm a fucking Premier League footballer." They said, "Well, yeah, but he came up against Fast Dad," and I was like, "Okay." And they said, "Well, he's South African, and he was a rugby player, winger."
Bullshit.
You can see me.
Which lane are you in?
Right, so I've got off to a flyer there. You can see me right at the
You're
start.
mu-
Get
you're
on
mu-
Fast Dad in the chinos.
He's
Rapping in the chinos.
Chinos and a shirt.
I think I can hold my head high there. I know
Why?
I am a professional sportsman and I didn't win the dad's race at school, but I feel like I should have my head held high.
Do you know what? There's a pub somewhere across London, Chris. Fast Dad is there in his chinos and his blue shirt. And he's showing the same video to his friends. Do you recognise the big guy?
Yeah.
Recognise the big guy in lane 3? That's right, it's Peter Crouch.
Crouchy beat you in chinos. Fast Dad.
He did. He did have some suspicious shoes on.
I want to meet
I'm sure there
Fast
was
Dad.
spikes on them.
Are we thinking, by the way, should Fast Dad we be able to find him?
Rematch.
Like, is this a guy? Well, no, not even that. Like, he's faster than Crouchy. Should this guy not be getting some serious heat from some of our? But between us, maybe we can earn some money off Fast Dad.
We should get his image rights. Like we should, you know that sort of agent thing where you sign up Carlos Tevez and you own the player. Should we invest what little we have after Crouchfest / Crouchella in Fast Dad and then maybe offer him?
Why don't we
offer him some Premier League clubs?
Why don't we as a podcast own Fast Dad and see see what we can put him to? Because God, like we could have the world's fastest.
Because
Dad.
I challenge any dads to take on Fast Dad.
No, is that a lucrative business? We
It
can
will
own
be.
Fast
We're going to
Dad.
make huge money in the dad's race.
we could send him to different sports days around the country,
He didn't look fast.
like
to
a
me,
hustler. You know, like Cruz in The Hustler.
Hey, Crouchy, was he actually a dad at the school? Is he? Is
no.
he a dad that just comes along for the?
No, he
dad
is, 'cause
shows?
she's-
professional
Do you know,
sports day.
unfortunately, I saw it. I've seen him at the park a few times, pushing a pram or something. I was watching.
Pushing.
Sorry, pushing.
What, for
pushing
training?
No, he was. What? He lives near me. Go to the same school. I'm going to see him knocking about.
You
aren't
don't
I?
know his name, no. He's called Fast
Was
Dad.
there
Because his kids are older than mine,
Was
so
there
it's
any-
like the whole school. So they're not in the same class. So then we now share like a common bond.
Was
We're
there any
both
beef?
really like rapid.
Was there any beef between the two of you?
There's a bit of beef, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm imagining in my head? You know that Flash? Oh, it's like Fast Dad. Oh,
That David Williams is like Gangster Granny and Fast Dad.
yes. Right, Fast Dad, we're coming for you.
Would you do a rematch with him at Crouchfest?
No, he's quicker.
Doesn't need to. He's faster than him.
But right,
He's quicker than me. Yeah, I admit that.
I do something with my kids. So there's this 2.5 years between them. So when they're racing on the beach, on holiday, whatever, in the garden, I handicap it. Could we do one at Crouchfest where you have a handicap?
Allowing myself to get involved in a handicapped race.
Here's what I'm talking about. Father's Day, the ultimate race. We own Fast Dad. We get hold of him. We sign him up. We challenge anyone listening
Who is a dad
and
and fast?
to take on Fast Dad.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
Crouchy, you're a competitive man. Do you think that an England footballer is fitter or less fit than an England rugby player or an England cricketer?
Okay. See what you've done there. Well, it depends really where you are, because rugby's quite position specific, isn't it? You know, if you're a front row, you're a fat logger, aren't you? You're not.
What's your... I mean, look, you would probably be a second row if you played rugby.
I think we can
Or a
rule out
second row.
cricket, can't we? Surely. In terms of
They are
fitness.
fit boys now. They are super fit.
Why would you have to be fit? to
Because
play cricket?
right, a fast bowler, 25 lots of 6 deliveries. Every delivery, he's sprinting for 25 metres, then jumping up to
Right,
deliver a ball.
right, yeah.
So he's doing a lot of sprints.
Okay.
I've done a little bit of research on this, Chris. I don't know if you know, but I quite like cycling. I've sent a text to the current Tour de France champion, Geraint Thomas, to find out what his resting pulse is. See what...
Resting pulse.
See if it's
I mean, you're right next to him. Like, can I just get your pulse there, G?
boom, 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 boom. So, Crouchy, what's your resting pulse?
I've no idea.
Yes, I bet you do.
No, I don't.
But you know
think I
your
do.
body fat.
Yeah, I don't really know my pulse. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, what's G's then?
It's 38 beats per minute. So anyone
Right.
at home can try this, because all you've got to do is just...
One every 2 seconds,
Yeah.
sort of.
Yeah.
Well, that's mad. like that's
The
one every
average-
two. Every 1 point. Let's say that's 1.8 seconds, right?
Yeah. So the average heart rate for someone of a similar age would be maybe 70. Depends. A lot of it's hereditary.
Cyclists, they're obviously very, very fit, but it's like a specific fitnesses in different sports, isn't there? You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly right.
I don't know if you got Chris Froome or something on a football pitch, like would he last 90 minutes? And I don't know, but would you, if you put a footballer on a Tour de France, would he be able to complete it?
That's the thing. It's totally specific.
It's
So
to-
most cyclists can't even run. I mean, they can't run 10 metres
Yeah.
because their legs aren't designed. They haven't got hamstrings to do it.
No.
They've got tiny upper bodies.
Yeah.
So it is all super specific to your sport.
To the sport,
But
yeah.
football, I would say, is probably an all-round thing, more so than in most sports.
I think you can't compare it, but we've got to form an opinion between us. in general talk.
Well, I think I'd say football players. You mentioned cricket and rugby. I'd say football players were. I'd say they're fitter than both of those. But I think rugby players will obviously be stronger than both.
I'd go rugby, football, cricket.
In fitness-wise,
Yeah.
You think rugby they'd be fitter than?
Yeah.
But when you say fitter, do you mean like? So
For
say
what?
if they did like a marathon. Football
Yeah,
players
but
would
you're
win.
just making. I'm talking in very general terms. I'm talking about if we'd say
Like general
all the rugby
health
players
or-
together, all the football. Well, no, because otherwise, what we might as well do then is go back to the original idea and have them all racing.
I'd like
as
to see
part
that.
of the crouch, whatever we're calling
this
it.
is another one.
and we can
No.
race for a place. We represent every sport.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's if we're determining fitness by being fastest.
If you're listening at home, like there are certain measures of fitness, Chris, aren't there? That anyone who's ever done any sort of fitness will know, like whether it's the number of press-ups you can
Well,
do.
surely bleep test is the most all-round test of fitness.
How many press-ups can you do, Crouchy?
I did 3 this morning. 3? I'm only joking. I could do.
How many can you do?
I don't know.
Right, I'll hold your microphone. Do some
I'm
press-ups.
definitely not doing that.
Why not?
No, I don't know. What's your like? I don't know. Like straight off the bat.
Yeah.
I can't do many, but I would challenge anyone. Like I would.
Would you challenge Crouchy?
Yeah.
No,
Right, come on,
I
Crouchy.
don't want to do it. I'm a highly tuned athlete.
No, not having that.
Press ups is not my
Imagine he
thing.
lost to me.
We've got to see this.
I'll tell you this. What I would love to do before this series ends or the festival ends, I'd love to beat you at something.
No.
I'd love it if I beat you at something. Just one thing that I'll beat you at. I'm sure.
Press
of it.
ups
One
is probably
thing.
that thing. I'm quite happy to
Yeah.
give that one
Okay.
up.
To be continued, everyone.
Crouch has done the robot again because it's 100 Premier League goals for Peter Crouch.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
Let's finish off with a few messages. Here's one from Steve. Steve says, my wife Lisa is the executive chef at the hotel which has become home for Crouchy once he signed for Burnley.
Mate, you've told
She's-
me about that place.
She's great.
She says, your favourite thing is to eat a particular egg dish of hers.
Yeah, it's top notch.
I've had this, haven't I?
Yeah, you have had this.
It is
What
good
do you
egg.
mean? Have you eaten there?
Yeah.
It's a good egg.
Took Tom up there.
You told
You
me
were just on one of your holidays, I reckon.
Have you been there?
I've been there.
Some of the food is phenomenal up there. I have to say.
I've heard amazing things, and I thought the plan was that we'd go for a lovely meal there, the 3 of us.
We can
It
still
seems
do
that
it.
I'm
Should we
the-
do it?
Yeah.
We'll go.
All right, Lisa, we'll extend the invite and we'll all be there. Okay, here's a message from David. I saw Peter at a Rod Stewart gig a few years ago. He was having a great time in the VIP area.
I do like Rod Stewart. My mum is a huge Rod Stewart fan. I promised her ever since I was a kid that I would take her, and it was great.
Did she meet Rod?
She's not met Rod, no. I actually met him myself. He was performing on Strictly when Abby was on it, and Penny Lancaster was sitting next to me while watching Rod and Abby perform.
How weird.
We were like the wags.
The Rod Stewart draw that he did as well
Oh.
is one of my favourite things with the
What was
old arm.
this?
He goes, he's...
Why have you not seen the Rod Stewart
Please
draw?
don't tell me I found something that you don't know.
Seriously? I'll get it up. Oh, yeah,
Where
right
is it?
now.
It's so
I
good.
genuinely don't know.
I don't know what you mean.
You're going to love this, mate. So what it is Rod...
balls.
It's like, Crouchy, you've done a draw a couple of times, haven't you, for various
Not like
tournaments?
this.
But anyway, Rod Stewart has obviously enjoyed the hospitality or whatever it is, gone out with a few mates, whatever, and decided he's going to do the draw in the most dramatic way. And I actually feel Rod Stewart should do all draws.
Well, he has to. But you know, like, so I did the Carabao Cup
Yeah.
draw. Something that I've grown up with, and I'm really looking forward to doing it. But then someone said to me, it was a big whip round for me to do a Rod Stewart type draw.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't do it. I just like...
Right, show me.
Right.
Oh, you're gonna
here we
love
go,
it.
Like, here we go.
What year was this?
So good.
It was only a couple of years
20,
ago.
well, this is on here in
2 years ago.
2017. It's just you got to watch the whole thing because it's just
Yeah,
it's,
gets better.
Always, yeah.
Here he goes.
He's got a massive grin on his face. It's like he's doing Emu the puppet with his hand.
Alan Stubbs just doesn't know where to
Here he
look.
goes. He does it again.
He's got a leopard skin scarf on. He's reaching it.
Overarm.
Every time Rod Stewart's turn. He reaches his right hand up towards the sky.
Why is he going down?
And then he plummets his hand into the
It's like
receptacle.
he's bowling a cricket ball
He is.
almost.
He's also done a massive breathe out there. You know when you've had 5 or 6 drinks and you suddenly go.
Tired.
Do you know what I really love about this though is that he will have had to have done a rehearsal, I imagine. And what's amazing is between the rehearsal and the actual draw, he's decided to forget everything that's happened and just do his own thing. Over he goes.
And goes in again.
He doesn't not do it once.
Look at the delight on his face when he just pulls out number 3. Rod thinks this is the greatest cup draw of all time that he's part of.
It is.
Yeah,
It is.
It is.
What he's done there is he's changed the way draws need to be done, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, what he's done there is something that I think everyone should replicate.
He's shifted the
Sort of
paradigm, hasn't he?
homage to him.
Oh, it's just, honestly, one of the best things I've ever seen.
Do you regret when you look back at your own performance now? Do you regret not?
I just couldn't. I couldn't.
Here's the thing,
couldn't do
FA
it.
Cup draw, right? I reckon you'll get invited to do it at some point. Will you do the FA Cup draw?
How about
as
I was
Rod
thinking?
Stewart?
I was thinking like
Slightly more
I
Rod.
will do one
Just one.
Rod.
No, that's not
Just-
good.
that's not
That's
good
not
enough.
good enough for me.
You've got to outdo Rod.
Come
I
on.
can't do it. He did
Why
it.
don't
How
you-
many times did he do it?
Do you know what you should do? He's done it with his hand. I want you to do it in the style of I'm a celeb, get me out of here. I want you to go in with your face,
face in
with
it.
your face and pluck a ball out between your
You
teeth.
mean like apple bobbing?
Yeah, like apple bobbing.
Apple bobbing.
I think no. Anyone who has any respect for the game needs to draw it like Rod. I don't think it needs to be bettered.
That's a phrase, Chris.
I
Draw
think-
it like Rod.
I think if you get your chance, you do that. If anyone listening to this who ends up doing the FA Cup draw,
Well, this,
you
this
need
all
to do it
came,
as
this
well.
all came about from an email saying that they saw
Sorry,
me.
yes.
We've Rod Stewart is a legend. Let me get that right. Like he's not just known for the draw.
Another message as well about referees. TMC has got in touch on Twitter. He wanted to let us know that the new Scottish referees kit is available to pre-order.
Pre-order.
To pre-order.
What's going on?
Like there's going to be a massive rush on the
I have
referees
to
kits.
say though, the Scottish referees kit is
You like it?
better than the Premier League referees kit.
It's a bright, luminous, yellowy green, isn't it?
It's quite, yeah. They're quite out there. The Scottish referees kits.
And the
So if
sponsor,
I was going to pre-order any,
you'd go for that one.
I'd go for
do you
Scottish.
know who the sponsor is?
no.
Specsavers.
Yeah, scandalous.
I mean, that's genius and insulting at the
At the
same
same
time.
at the
It's quite-
same
it's
time.
Scandalous.
Quite incredible. The interesting thing about the referees kit is you're right. It does suggest that there's a huge demand, doesn't it?
Well,
But-
if you're pre-ordering something, it's like you can't miss out when it comes out.
Well, but do you think they're pre-ordering because they're trying to gauge how many they could sell?
Oh, I see.
Do you see what I mean? So it's like, look, if you're interested,
I don't.
please let us know. Otherwise, we just won't bother.
even make it.
If you are in Scotland right now listening to this wearing a full referee's kit, much respect.
Or if you're in Scotland awaiting your...
Even better, yeah. So true.
This item will be shipped in 14 days.
Get excited.
Well, I got a message here from Matthew. Most old school coaches like Pulis divide players into two categories such as ham and eggers and tip tap Charlies. On my first day as a full-time player at Sheffield Wednesday, we were told we were one of either playing the piano or carrying the fucking piano. I was told in no uncertain terms that I was carrying the piano. I then got released 2 years later.
Yeah.
I think if you're carrying a piano at a young age,
You're going to be released.
it's a struggle, yeah. You know, to make it in a professional game, it's a tough, cutthroat business, and you will
You're
have had
broadening
to
it
have
out.
played a piano at some stage for you to then be carrying one on a good stage.
If you're describing a team as this, it's a fucking appalling analogy because no one carries a piano. You'd be stupid to.
No, but at some point, someone has to carry a piano because how do they get in people's houses?
If you lived, you know, these penthouses in New York, they're full of them. How the hell did you get up there?
I love how definitive Crouchy is about the penthouses in
Yeah.
New York. Take my word for it. The
Loads of them.
penthouses of New York are full
Full of them.
are full of grand pianos.
Full of them.
I just like the idea that obviously out of anyone and everyone, Crouchy's the one playing the piano. What we can draw from this podcast at least is that Crouchy is Elton John. And it's a wonderful, wonderful image, isn't it?
Can any professional footballer that you know actually play the piano?
Yeah. Moritz Bauer was, an Austrian pianist.
Like Mozart.
Well, they're amazing.
And he was very good.
So when you have, when you watch University Challenge and you just have to guess answers, in my case, when they say name an Austrian pianist and most people are going Mozart, you should shout out
Moritz Bauer. I've seen him play. Fantastic.
It feels to me there might be a whole podcast in musical footballers, but just very briefly, is there ever situations where you're in where someone picks up the guitar, or you're in a hotel where there's a piano and someone starts a song?
Yeah, that happened when, Shane Long, famous
Guitarist.
for being a very, very good guitarist.
Really?
Yeah, Sandro used to go open mic gigs in pubs in Chiswick.
What, do you acoustic guitar?
Yeah, he'd get up and play guitar, and he had a singer with him that would come round and
What sort of music?
Brazilian kind of vibe.
But that's the best thing. Is that not team bonding when you suddenly can whip out a guitar? It's like
Brilliant.
you're in band camp and you can all sing a song.
Superb.
Was there ever a moment you as a team, whether it was like Liverpool or Tottenham, or like you had a moment where you were pre-season or something and one of you whipped out a guitar and had a sing-song?
Yeah.
That never happened.
Toured grip on the accordion.
Yeah, well, we've spoken about it. Yeah.
Germany 2006.
Yeah.
There's a few musical footballers.
Does Joe Allen play guitar?
No. He looks
Leighton
like he
Baines
should.
plays guitar, doesn't he?
Leighton Baines plays, yeah.
Do you want to learn an instrument?
I'd love to, I've tried. I tried the piano. I had Let It Be for a while. I've just sort of lost that now, but similar to the mandarin in
Well, what do
many
you want
ways.
to do? Tell us, what do you want to do?
Could you sing Let It Be in Mandarin?
Well, yeah, just give me a week and I'll just need to brush up on the mandarin and the piano.
Let It Be in Mandarin with Crouchy on the piano for Crouch Fest would be...
A single spotlight lights a darkened stage.
Yeah,
Crouch
but
walks on to a Steinway Grand.
What is Mandarin for Let It Be? Let's finish on that.
Been a while. Do you know what I mean? Like I say, my mandarin is not what it used to be, and my piano is not there where I want it to be.
Okay, leave it with us. Hopefully we'll have Crouch singing Mandarin on stage, Let It Be, which I've just had a quick look up, boys, is Swan Lee.
Swan Lee, Swan Lee.
Swan Lee, Swan Lee.
And then let's not attempt the next bit. Anyway, we'll be back next week.
Stronger.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.